Hey guys, it's Alex Torelli. Welcome back to the hand of the day. Today's hand comes from a big cash game I played in Macau. The blinds are 1,000, 2,000, which is equivalent to 125, 250 US. So it's a pretty big game. We're playing shorthanded, and a weak sort of VIP player limps in middle position for 2,000. And the small blind, who is a very aggressive, pretty tough player, but a very aggressive player, pretty much takes the most aggressive line on all streets, is my read on him. And we've played a lot of poker before. He raises to 7,000, which is sort of a small raise, but neither here nor there. I call with Queen Jack offsuit in the big line, and the limper calls. So we're 3-way to the flop. Pretty good spot for me. The flop is 9-8-5 rainbow. The initial raiser bets 14,000. I call, and the limper folds. So now we're heads up. The turn comes a king offsuit. So 9-8-5 king. He checks. Now this is a good spot for me. I think that he might just be giving up here, and I'm trying to get him to fold air by betting. So I bet 34K, and I really want him to fold, ace jack, ace queen, just hands that missed completely, even something like the same hand as mine. I just don't want him to bluff the river. I don't want to check and then have him bluff the river, and I can't call with queen high. So I just want to take the pot down right now and just try and win the hand. Of course, I have some cards that I can bluff on the river possibly, and other cards, if I hit a 10 or a queen or a jack, I'm likely to have the best hand. So I check, he checks, I bet 34,000, and instead of check folding like I hoped, he raises to 105,000. Something about the way he did it, obviously, when you're playing live poker, you get a read on someone pretty easily just by the way that they act in the situation. You can tell if they have coming from a place of strength or a place of creativity and weakness. And I felt like he was a little weak, so I went a lot with my read here. But also, just aside from reads aside, just analyzing the situation, we each have 400,000. So for him to check raise here when we're that deep, over 200 big blinds deep to start the hand, he really has to have a very, very strong hand. I think that check raising here with something like king queen or even ace king, even two aces, is it's a little ambitious, hoping that I'm going to spaz out of line, get out of line, and put money in the pot with a worse hand. It's very easy for me to have two pair, something like king 9 could have called in the big blind, king 8 suited, 9-8 suited, a set of 5s, a straight, a set of 8s, a set of 9s. All those hands are easily in my range. And of course I could be bluffing, but my bluffs are gonna fold if he check raises anyway. So for him to hope that I put more money in the pot with an inferior made hand is a little ambitious. So I think it's very hard for him to have a one pair type hand that he's doing this for value with. Now, why am I going into this much analysis? Well, all this is to say, it makes me ask the question, what hands does he check raise with? He either check raises with, if he's not check raising with one pair, he's check raising with very strong made hands, like a set. 9-8 even is a little ambitious. What is he hoping I call with? Like ace 9? Like what is he hoping I call with if he check raises me with a weak two pair? It's very hard for me to have a king in my hand, so him trying to get value out of one pair just doesn't make sense, even if he has 9-8. So when he check raises, I think he has a strong made hand, like a set, a straight, or maybe king 9 at the worst. Or he has a bluff, and he could be bluffing with any 6 in his hand, any 7 in his hand, or all the combinations of jack 10, queen jack, or queen 10. Those could be bluffs as well. So I think that it's much more likely he's bluffing here than he has a really strong hand. Also, of course, I went with my read in the situation as well. But I don't really know how to combat a bluff because I have queen high myself. So what am I gonna do? Shoving all in, of course, is a possibility, but I would be risking another 270,000. I would be risking, I have to call his $75,000 raise, plus I have 250,000 behind. So I'm really risking 350, 320,000 on my read here, and which is a lot of money relative to the size of the pot. So it puts me in a precarious spot. I don't want to let go of my hand. I think he's bluffing, but I don't have anything. So what do I do? I decided to call, which is very, very risky because I'm banking on the fact that my opponent is going to shut down on the river if I call. My call would be a little ridiculous if my opponent were going to continue bluffing on the river, because what am I going to do? Call with queen high? I mean, it would be very, very ambitious to call with queen high on the river. So it's a very interesting play, and it's even a little crazy in a way to call here with queen high. But I just think that my opponent is smart enough and he's a good enough hand reader to know that if I call a check raise here on the turn, I always have a made hand that I'm committing to the pot with. And I think that he is going to be a little too crazy to bluff on the river, because it's so easy that I have a hand that snap calls him on the river. If I have a set, if I have a straight, all the hands I'm representing by betting the turn and calling a check raise are super strong made hands. So I think that he would be a little insane to bluff the river here, and I think that he checks the river so often here. And I think that because he's going to check the river, I could risk way less money and I can win the pot with much more certainty. So if he does bet the river here, I'm not really that worried about me getting bluffed off the pot, because I think that if he bets the river, now I'm going to change my read and say, you know what, he probably had the best hand. Instead of risking all my money on the turn with an ambitious read in a very compromising situation, I'm going to wait to get more information. And that's one of the beauties of playing poker in position. I could just call and see what happens. So if the river comes and he checks, now I'm almost certain that he has nothing, and I can win the pot by betting, because I'm representing a huge hand and he knows that he's giving up on the hand. His bluff got caught. So the river comes a 6, so 9, 8, 5, king 6. He checks the river. I bet 140,000, pretty small, because again, I don't need to bet a lot of money here. I just need to bet enough to get him to fold a bluff, which is a small amount. I could bet a third of the pot and succeed with that. So I'm allowing myself to risk way less money in a much more sure situation. So I bet something like 130,000 and he folds immediately and I win the pot. So I know it's a very complex situation, but I hope that you took something away from it, and mainly understanding that by allowing yourself to gain more information in the hand, by taking advantage of your position, you allow yourself to gain more information in the hand and be much more sure about the decisions you're making, while simultaneously risking a lot less money. So, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on The Hand of the Day. Thanks for watching.